Good evening, everybody. We are finally live for the 2025 NFL pre-draft show here on DDFFB. Welcome into everybody that is tuning in, that has been in the waiting room, ready for this stream to rip off. It is going to be a weekend full of content on this channel and on Ray Garvin NFL. So if you're not tuned in, you can see the content schedule to the right of us on the screen, wall-to-wall live content starting with Wake Up this morning, but all the way through to Wake Up on Monday and morning. But guys, I'm here with my partner in crime, one half of Mannequin Chill. Shane says FF. We got Shane Manila. And then we got Dynasty Theory. I know they've watched the DD stream for the last couple of years, and this year you guys are finally part of the action. It's going to be us six with Ray and Jay Rich to come here pretty soon. Mitch Sorensen, John Bauer. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yep, it's time.
I am ready to go.
Yeah. Shane, you haven't said anything.
I'm just tired of all the conjecture, all the smoke, all the, I said this in our Discord at one point, but this feels like the most disinformational season of a draft that I can ever remember. There's just so many opposing things that are out there that are complete contrast to each other that I just want to get this going so I know what my rookie picks are where they're going to be valued at.
My 14-year-old came home from school today and he was like, hey, so I was on this gambling site. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, hey, so Shedeur Sanders over under right now is 22.5. I'm like, what are you doing in school? But that's where we are now with today's youth.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do stuff like that in my youth. I can tell you that.
Well, you're old enough that I'm pretty sure you were gambling with Joe on the corner of the block. Yeah, there was no gambling.
I thought you were going to say like Joseph from the Bible, but yeah, no, Joe from the corner works as well.
Anyway, well, let's get to it. We have a lot of people in the chat. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. We've been trying to hit this 5,000 mark before the draft. We're almost there. There's still time. So if you haven't already and you're in here watching, just hit subscribe. Engage in the comments. I see a ton of people in the comments here that are part of our community already. If you're interested in being part of the community, we do have a one-time promo code where you can join to get all access to the Discord, ddfantasyfootball.com. The promo code for just this weekend, DRAFT50, capital DRAFT 50. So if you haven't already signed up, use that. You'll get 50% off and you'll be able to jump in the Discord. So guys, we're going to go through just some banter, some predictions. We did this in voice chat, which is one of the perks you get if you join the community. We did this for like the last 2 hours, just talking through. A lot of it was just doom and gloom. Shane was in there for a little bit. JB was in there for a little bit. It's really just some people in our community trying to just crush our hopes and dreams, even as early as tonight with, certain landing spots or things happening that are going to be negative for rookie picks. So I'm going to start with you, JB. I was going to ask you this earlier, but I didn't want to hear it until we got on the stream. Do you have any sort of, I don't even want to say it's a hot take because it doesn't have to be a hot take, but this draft feels to me like there's not a theme. There isn't like an overarching theme yet of what we're saying about this class, other than maybe it's not that good compared to some of the others. Is there anything you think maybe even after tonight, but definitely after tomorrow, where you think we'll kind of start pigeonholing this draft as this was this kind of draft? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I mean, right now it's labeled as a deep running back class. And I don't think necessarily any of that narrative is going to change tonight. I don't even think it's going to change tomorrow. I know there's been a lot of different viewpoints on how many day two backs we get, but I'm coming into this draft with optimism. You talk about doom and gloom. I put in the Heisman chat, I think it was yesterday. I said, guys, 11 fantasy relevant players are going in day one in the first round. And I don't, nobody agree with me because it is all doom and gloom. We hear all these things and it starts because with Devi, with knowing all of these prospects for so long, everybody gets prospect fatigue. And now everybody's coming out. An anonymous source says this, an anonymous executive says this, and it's always bashing these players, and things are really piling on for Shedeur Sanders, a Tep McMillan. So it's certainly going to be interesting where they go. But you want to talk about a theme, because there's a lack of consensus right now. I think we could very well be talking about, hey, I can't believe so and so slipped to this point of the draft, or I can't believe there was such a drastic reach on a certain player. So I think if I'm going to describe it in one word, it's going to be variance, because it is just, there could be so much movement up and down and sideways and whatever way you want to look at it, that's going to be the thing. Hindsight being 2020, like, I can't believe that player slipped.
Yeah, I mean, there really hasn't been a lot of action from an NFL perspective yet. No big trades, no first round picks have moved yet. There really hasn't been anything where you go, okay, that's going to be a hint as to how this draft's going to go. You're going to be able to be with us for every single pick, pretty much wall to wall, starting at 7:45 tonight, live on Ray Garvin NFL, all the way through the end of round one, and then jump back on here with us on DDFFB for the post show, where we can deconstruct and talk about everything that happened tonight and maybe some predictions for tomorrow. Mitch, I'm going to kick it to you. Variance was your partner in crime's theme for what he thinks this draft could be. Any thoughts on that? And what do you think the takeaway from just this overall class could end up being from a dynasty perspective?
That's tough. I was thinking about that a lot today. I think for this class to be thought of as a good class, we are going to need the 3 quarterbacks drafted in the first, with the Dart, Sanders, and Ward. And I kind of think we need to have maybe Mason Taylor going up in the first, or we have maybe 3 running backs going up in the first, because right now we have the quarterbacks, right? And then I don't have a lot of hope that we're going to see 5 or 6 wide receivers taken. And so that's going to kind of hurt it a little bit. So we need those other positions to jump up. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen. So my biggest worry with this class is I love the players in it, and I think it's good. But my biggest worry is, like, if we just don't have those hits tonight on day one with good landing spots and all that happening, I think we are going to see a lot of sentiment coming out to, you know what, this class just isn't good. You should trade out of it as soon as the 106 and, trade for a 26 pick or a 27 pick. As of right now, I still like the draft. I like the players we could get in the second round. I'm sure we're going to talk about that a lot over the next couple of days. But as of tonight goes, I just really want good landing spots. Like, if Shedeur Sanders, for whatever reason, let's just say he doesn't get drafted in the first round, then what is this draft turn? Even if you like him, you don't like him, but all of a sudden he doesn't go, then this draft is terrible. It doesn't really matter if you wanted him on your dynasty teams or not. It's just, that's going to be the sentiment out there.
And it pushes the players that might be available later up a little bit. So if you were sitting at that 110, 111, 112, and now you lose a first-round quarterback, maybe a wide receiver slips, now all of a sudden those picks get bumped up a little bit, and the value that you might have been able to get there, well, now it's not there because it's just those few players slipping.
We had this comment from JR Enterprise. 1.11 to 202 feels cozy. Let's assume it's a 12-team, pretty standard, no crazy premiums or anything. 1.5. Do you think this is true, Shane? Do you think that right now, not knowing anything, how do you feel about this statement right now relative to what you know? We're all, I think the best part about having us 4 on this screen is we're probably in close to 300 leagues combined. So, like, we already kind of have a pulse on the values of how these picks feel if you have these picks in your league. Shane, what do you think about this statement? Right now, if you're sitting on one of these picks, how much is tonight going to hinge on how you feel about these picks? And I'm not talking crazy premiums. We're talking like we need the tight ends to get good landing spots. We need the quarterbacks to go in first round. Otherwise, these picks, you're going like, man, am I really taking the RB6 or a second round receiver with one of these picks? What do you think?
So I'm not so much concerned about taking the RB6, right? If the RB6 has second round draft capital, I'm concerned if I have to take the RB6 and he has third and fourth round draft capital. We're going through how many people we think are going to be drafted offensively. If we can get to 9 or 10, then yes, hopefully higher than that, right? I will feel 11 be great. I counted up 13. I'm going to manifest positivity, right? 13. Manifest it. It shall happen.
Well, rip them off. Who are they? Tell the people who's on your list of 13 that You assume this is like best case scenario tonight, right?
Oh,
We hear
absolute-
13 of these.
Right. Absolute best case scenario. I'm adding a couple people that probably won't. Right. I'm adding Henderson, Jalen Milrow.
We're already into deep prayer right there with 3 running backs and 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean that's really it, right? It's those 7, and then
Shane, what about Tyler Shuck? You're the Shuck
Hunter.
man.
Shuck is going to go in the second, but see, here's the problem. Shuck will go in the second to Cleveland. You can bank on it, right? Cleveland's going to go Hunter and Shuck, and we're going to push Shuck up, but I'm not going to take him in the first. I feel good about the 111 to 202, but generally, we feel good about the 111 to 202. Why? Because it's a comfortable place to draft players.
Mhm.
I'm not there. There's feels like there's no way to lose, right? I'm expending a 201. Like, sure, it sucks when you burn a 201, but you look back on the history of second round picks and you go, they don't hit that much anyway. But we always feel good in that range because we're like, well, give me a shot at any of those dudes. I don't know if I feel, it's like I don't feel great about a specific spot. It's not like I'm like, oh, well, give me 111 because I really like it there. But anywhere in that range, yeah, I feel good because there's a bunch of players that I'm comfortable drafting there, as opposed to, we've talked about in Discord, and this isn't what you asked, but whatever, I don't care. When you get to like 104, 5, 6, that's the area where it's like, oh, am I drafting the RB4 here? That's where it starts to go, I feel a little uncomfortable drafting here. 111, 112, there's no risk. When there's no risk, there's no reason to be uncomfortable.
That's a lot. What happens, though, if we don't get 13 players tonight in the first round and the RB 4 and 5, one of them, because I think the way that I have it slotted out is the over-under on running backs in the first is 1.5, right? So if we get 2, I think we're happy. The over-under on receivers, not including Travis Hunter, is 2.5. So if we get 3 receivers and Hunter, because we have to factor him in, he's going to be a dynasty pick. Right there, we're at 2 running backs, 4 receivers. Quarterbacks, if it's 3, that's great. That's 3 more players that probably occupy first-round picks. And then we know 2 tight ends are going to go in the first. So I'm looking at like 11 as probably around where it may shake out. But what happens if one of the tight ends to the Colts, one of the running backs is a good, not fabulous landing spot, and then we're sitting here going, man, I really hope on day 2 that the next 2 running backs go to great spots, and then what if they don't? All of a sudden, you're getting to, because I think what Shane was alluding to is the 111 through 202 feels okay now, because you can basically just spray and pray and you don't lose anything because you probably won the championship, right? You're fine moving that pick. But does it feel like that pick, Mitch, could just bottom out? And all of a sudden, like, we're now reaching for subpar profiles and going, well, fine, I guess I'll take this guy here, but it could have been better than what it was. That's what I kind of think may happen.
That's always the worry, right? You could go back to last year's draft. We had Jonathan Brooks, who was injured. We kind of liked that landing spot. And then you have Trey Benson, who goes behind James Conner. You have Blake Corum, who I, for whatever reason, loved in the pre-draft process. He went to the Rams behind Kyron Williams, right? And there's a good chance to where even Marshawn Lloyd went to the Packers and he was immediately behind someone. There's a strong chance that a lot of these guys that we have talked up over the last, 2 months, the Devin Nils, Cam Scatabo, these kind of backs, they're behind a Joe Mixon. They're behind a Chase Brown. I would not be shocked if the Lions end up drafting another one because Sione Vaki didn't turn out. There's a lot of chance. The 49ers are going to draft a running back. That's just going to happen. And so hopefully we have enough good landing spots and we don't see someone end up behind Breece Hall. And I think that's the biggest worry when it comes to running backs is I think right now there's all the hype in the world and maybe we do have 6 that go to great landing spots and the others are whatever, it's fine. But if we end up getting the majority of them going to spots that we don't like and only 3 going to smash spots, all of a sudden those 3 are going to boost way high in value. And the other is going to be like, well, just choose whichever one you want in the mid-second round.
Yeah, I think the big thing is we know this. If you are a second round pick, running back is really the only position other than maybe tight end, depending on the premium. Running back is the only position where historically that can be a decent bet. Because the only NFL draft capital profiles that should go in round 1 of a rookie draft that don't go in the round 1 of an NFL draft are running backs. You should not be going, man, I'm going to take that second round receiver in the first of a rookie draft, a second round quarterback in the first of a rookie draft. Tight end, like I said, it depends on the premium, but that's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure on, even if only 2 running backs go tonight, that's a lot of pressure on the ones that go tomorrow, especially early. That pick 33 through 50 to 60, it better be the right teams. Otherwise, you're getting into, well, sure, I'd love to take that round 3 running back that went here, but that's just more of that's an NERB on a 53 pick. You know what I mean? That's just a higher version of that type of bet, where historically you're hoping those guys just get some starts. They're not probably penciled in as day 1 starters. We have an optimistic person in the chat, just like Shane, Hunter, Joe Green, 13 on day 1. And then we have Graphic 13, Mr. Pessimistic. Ooh, 6. This could happen, especially if you don't consider Hunter enough of a clear situation to say I'm taking him. Like, he would still go in the first, but like, I could see this, couldn't you guys?
No.
I
7,
could
8 guys.
if the defensive talent was better, I would say yeah. But even like the defensive guys, like, we like them, but there's kind of Travis Hunter, however you want to classify him, he's elite, right? And then you have Abdul Carter, who's amazing, and other guys we kind of like. But even the cornerback 1 in this class, not counting Travis Hunter, it's kind of one of those, we kind of like him, but not really worth a top 10 pick. And so I think if the defense, and we don't really have the elite offensive tackle either. We have Will, can't think of his name right now, but he's going to go to the Patriots.
A bunch of guard hybrid guys that are tackles, but could start out as guards. That's probably half of the tackles in the first round will start as guards to start their career, depending. And I think that makes them even more sought after, Mitch, just not at the top of the draft. Like teams that are in the teens and 20s and go, yeah, sure, if Kelvin Banks falls to 15, I'd love to take him because I can start him at guard and then move him to tackle. Like, that has some value. But yeah, I think it just comes down to preference, because I was going through, I don't know if all you guys entered our draft challenge, but like, it's hard knowing that there's a bunch of teams at the back half of the draft that can pick for luxury, but also like do you notice a lot of teams need corners, edge rushers, tackles, and guards? And it's like, there's only so many of those that go around. And depending on who falls, there may be teams at the end of the draft willing to trade back or even move up a little bit to get one of those positions. But I couldn't, like, I saw this comment about Jaden Higgins and maybe other receivers moving into the first. JB, I had a hard time even getting like Luther Burden into the first, or even Igbuka in the first. Like, it's hard to say we're going to see a just sleeper receiver pop into the first like a lot of people. Mason Taylor, there's no way I could put him in the first.
But it happens every year, though. Every year we get that one player that pops in the very end of the first round, and we're like, well, that really threw us off guard. So I saw the Jaden Higgins comment in the chat. I saw that pop up a few times. He's somebody that I actually like. If you look at the guys outside of, Matthew Golden getting steamed up, Emeka Egbuka, Hunter, Tet, he's that one that I think it wouldn't shock me to see go very end of the first round. I think he's going to go top 50. I like Trey Harris a lot. I'm still wondering how teams are going to look at him, especially with the injury. But I know you guys want to spend more time talking about offensive linemen. I can't do it anymore. So the pick conversation, like how the 111 into the 202, how are we looking there? How do we feel? Do we feel warm and cozy? I say this almost every year, and it typically happens the way, like, everybody says, oh, this class is so deep. Get those seconds. We all love those second round picks. There's going to be a line drawn in the sand where that line, it gets pushed up. So you're going to have players that we look at in the second round that, whether it's draft capital, whether it's a horrendous landing spot, like Mitch, I know you and we like Dylan Sampson, right? But there's a world where he goes fourth round into a shit spot, and now we're not looking at him in that 206 to 210 range, or maybe we are because by default, but there is more of that gap. and the way you guys were talking about those early first round picks versus late first round picks, I think we certainly could see more of a gap where like the net value of the first round pick stays the same between now and post draft, but we just see a greater disparity between those early picks and later firsts because of the way that this first round shakes out.
But John, just to your point with Dylan Sampson or whoever the hell you're talking about, Devin Neal, it doesn't matter, right? So 3 of those dudes land in bad spots. Guess what? They move to the end of the second, beginning of the third round, and the dudes that I had at the end of the second, beginning of the third round take their place because they found better spots.
You're hoping they found better spots.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming, right? I'm assuming not everyone falls into an awful spot, although we are going to see at least one occasion where 2 of our running backs get drafted to the same team tonight, and that's going to be fun when we have to make a bet on 2 players that we liked. Like
and then we battle to the death. We get in a steel cage
exactly.
And we battle.
Exactly. Bashard Smith and Quinshon Junkins, although I actually would like that running back room very much, but something like that.
Yeah, there's this comment from the very beginning when I asked about the theme, running back and tight end bonanza. Now, the problem is, because we can agree, right? Other than very few profile receivers and quarterbacks, we're not interested in round 3 receivers or round 4 quarterbacks. Like they're either roster cloggers or, you'll take backup quarterbacks just if you're playing a certain type of strategy. But like this comment, I immediately go to, we might like Elijah Arroyo and Mason Taylor and Terrence Ferguson and Harold Fannin and every one of the running backs we mentioned that don't go in the top 50. All of them are subject to situation bets, right? Where they land, who else is on their team. And that's a scary proposition unless, and I've been saying this for a little while, unless you've designed your team around having picks in the second and third and fourth with the sole goal of this draft just being picks, I can just draft for roster construction needs. I'm just going to hammer running back. I'm going to take some shots because I have a plan to maybe flip them for something else. But that doesn't feel like a great thing to bank the value of your picks on. I'm not looking at my 204 and my 208 and my 302 going, man, I'm really trying to extract value from my league mates. I have those picks going, I'm just going to take probably the best running back on the board because my team needs supplemented with those guys. But if you have a team that's built not to do that, you're hoping for all of the good landing spots. You're hoping for some round 3 receivers that we like go to great spots. You're hoping that the round 2 and 3 and 4 tight ends are places where they can start. Because if they're not, this class bottoms out really, really quickly. And we talk about the demand of picks. The players are the players, right? We know there's going to be X amount of players that go round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. People are going to tier them in a way that it's going to shake out how it's going to shake out. You're not going to get a big edge if your ranks or tiers are that different compared to the masses. Where the edge is going to be is being able to decipher the demand of these picks. And if the bottom drops out, there's going to be no demand. It's going to be the other people in your league. Sure, I'll take a shot there at the 307, but JB, you know what I'm going to give you? A 27 third. That's it. You're not, the value isn't because I really want something with that pick. And we just don't want that to start happening at the 201, 202. And that's where this class, I think, is at risk.
Here, I'm going to throw a test at you here, Scott. You have been very vocal, especially in the Discord, and I can't let you run wild for too long. Against Mason Taylor going at the back end of the first in the NFL draft. And I agree. I think that's early. But is there a better situation at pick 32 for the defending champions, Philadelphia Eagles, who potentially are looking to move on from Dallas Goedert, to step in and take Mason Taylor right there to wrap up the first round?
It would require a Dallas Goedert trade and then a reach on the pick, but it could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't.
Hold on though. It's not a reach though, because we've heard multiple draft experts, NFL experts say that Mason Taylor is not making it out of the first. So it's not really a reach. It's a reach in the sense that I can't see.
Here's where other times I would say it's a reach, Shane. He doesn't matter at that point. Most people, 90% of people here, we see it in our comments. Oh, what is this 1.75 2 PPR, right? We don't play that. The math, that's why I'm so adamant on the landing spots needing to be right. And maybe it doesn't matter if the community, JB, thinks Mason Taylor's the next Dallas Goedert and he's tight end 6 after the draft. Like, that's realistic, right? Because people go, it's the fresh, new, shiny toy. Maybe he gets an even better landing spot than Loveland or Warren, and all of a sudden he is tight end 7 on KTC on Monday morning. That wouldn't shock me. But you better be able to actually realize that in terms of the demand for the pick that you would take Mason Taylor with. Because most people like that, even tight end 7 doesn't really matter that much. Where it matters is, do other people think it matters? And in that case, that's kind of what we're rooting for over the next day and a half, right? Not even do we think the landing spots are great, is does the community react to the first 2 or 3 rounds and go, man, this draft is just flush with options from 1 to 20, 1 to 24. If that's the case, then your pick's rebounded.
I think what we really want to happen, because people get so erectiled over wide receivers, is we want some wide receivers to go earlier than expected, right? Or like, John's point earlier, if Trey Harris, Noel, Higgins, throw another wide receiver in there, go in the second round, all of a sudden, some of those dudes are going to get pushed up to the first round, especially if the running back landing spots aren't what we want, and especially if you're playing in a non-tight end premium or a fake tight end premium like a 1.5. So what we really want, and I could see happening, is a lot of wide receivers going in the second round. Now, you've already discussed on one of our shows, multiple shows, about how a wide receiver outside of the top 50 isn't really a good bet. But that doesn't matter. That just matters what they're going to do in their career. But to the general public, the general community, a second round wide receiver is a smash. And we will take a second round wide receiver sometimes over probably not a first round running back, but definitely over a second round running back. Like, that'll at least be in contention, or at least the thought that'll be in some people's minds to do.
Yeah, I mean, the second round receiver goes for the same as with the tight ends later. Just if you're drafting, the expectation shouldn't be starter. But if the community thinks it is, then that you're drafting with a plan, right? You're drafting an asset. You're not drafting because I'm going to get X production. You're drafting because you think there's some upward momentum for this player. And I think that's where this comment said tonight was huge. And I think tomorrow, the first 20 picks or so is huge. Whether we like the players or we like the spots, or even the specific pairing of both, how does everybody else feel? I'm most interested in what is the macro pulse on this class. That is what's going to drive the ability for you to shuck and jive with your picks outside of the top 3 or 4. Because I don't know about you, JB, but I haven't seen a lot of convicted trades for the 106, the 105, the 107. It's like, I kind of like those picks, but there's just not a lot of flexibility until I see all this information that we're about to get tonight.
I think a lot of people agree with you there in terms of the middle of the first round. I made a trade recently, just a couple of days ago. I traded for the 105 and I moved, I think it was the 108, 208, and Jalen Coker. So I see that tier break, and with potential movement, and you're moving, or it was 105 for 109 and 209, something like that. But there are people that, hey, I don't have that conviction on a player that I'm looking to take in the middle of the first because I view this class as subpar and I'm looking to accumulate more picks. But then on the other hand, like, I think it depends where those picks are, because if you try to package up 111 and 112 and see what the best possible asset is that you can get, I think you'd be surprised with the lack of star power that you're getting in return. So I think it kind of works both ways, but it's an interesting dynamic. And all of the comments and everything we've talked about so far, this first round, it really is going to make or break the back end of the first, in especially 12-team super flex tight end premium rookie drafts, where we're hoping then that we get some nice, not just nice landing spots, but the draft capital tomorrow with especially the running backs. But if we get one quarterback, it could go down a very ugly slope. And it's reminiscent when you look at the quarterbacks, like the Kenny Pickett class. With wide receivers, it kind of feels like that JSN, Addison, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers grouping. Like, that's kind of the way I'm comparing this wide receiver class whenever I look back.
Mitch, I know you're itching to say
I know.
something.
I've been thinking about how to go about this because I mean we could sit on here and be like, look, because there's not a lot of those elite prospects in this class, and so we could be like, oh, this could be bad. Just play devil's advocate for a second. The 3 quarterbacks go to starting spots. You know, we have one go the Steelers, one go the Saints, one go the Titans. So taken care of, they're in good spots. Genty, doesn't matter where he goes, he's going to get steamed up. Marion Hampton goes somewhere in the first round. He goes to Denver, Dallas, Chargers, whoever you want, right? And then if the 2 tight ends are going to go, and if one of them gets a good spot, that's great. Then all you really need in the second round is Travion Henderson getting a good spot. If you go, Caleb Johnson goes to Denver in the second round, then all of a sudden you're 8 picks deep that people want those picks because it'll push down the wide receivers that we don't love. But at 110, I love Igbuka. I don't love Igbuka at the 106. But you're telling me all of a sudden I could have maybe 4 running backs that I'm willing to trade up for? Because maybe going into the 24 draft, there was a lot of talk. We talked about on Theory a lot to where the quarterback class we knew was going to be good in 24. We said multiple times, this is the year to fix your quarterback class. This might not be the year to do that, but this could still be the year to where there's enough value in the quarterbacks that this draft class is good. And if we do get 4 to 5 good landing spots with running backs, all of a sudden, this isn't a good class. This is going to be a great class as far as trading your first round picks. But I just don't think anything that happens with the wide receivers is going to change it. Maybe we get 5 in the first round and I'll change my mind. I think it's really, really going to hinge on if we get these good landing spots with running backs. And there's a lot of spots where running backs are needed in the NFL. We know the NFL is changing. It's not that pass happy league that it used to be. The good teams in the league run. So what are the bad teams in the league going to do? They're going to try to run as well. And so I think we're actually going to see the run game come back more prevalent, especially with the kind of defense that's been played recently, just because that cover 2 shell opens up so much more of the running game because it's just safer. And so good teams saw that and they were able to take advantage of it. And I think the bad teams are going to be doing the same thing. So there's a strong chance to where maybe we do see more running backs go to good spots that we can end up, all that we need to happen is community sentiment to be like, no, Cam Scatabo is really good. You have 3 more other backs that get steamed up. Then people love the second round and the first round. Then all of a sudden this class doesn't suck anymore. It's a really good class.
This class shouldn't suck to you because if you built your teams properly, you should need running backs. You should need legitimate running backs. You should have wide receivers. You should have quarterbacks, or at least one monster one, maybe one ugly one. But if you hate this class, that's a you problem, I really think, to be honest with you. This class, I love this class. Again, it gets me erectile. I need running backs. So unless these running backs all get absolutely ethered by their landing spots, unless everything goes wrong, right? Damn near everything has to go wrong for this class not to be appealing to me. So I'll be fine if people don't like this class because I'll go, all right, well, then I guess I'll be buying this first cheaper than you. And I know there's plenty of people that don't like this class, and there's plenty of people that'll tell me that I'm crazy for doing that. But that's what I'll do. Yeah, John Paul Taylor, I'm taking 6 running backs. I'll take 5 running backs. I don't care. I'm fine with that. You know why? I need them because my running back room is Devin Singletary, Rico Dowdle, some other dude that's basically them, Rashad White. I need a running back in there that can be a starter, at least on my roster.
I'm laughing at the comment from Alexander Bauer. Looks like he's dying to talk. Well, first of all, one was to make a joke. Shane's talking about being erectile. I was going to say, Shane, remember, if it lasts longer than 4 hours, just pop off the screen and get to the hospital. But Mitch made a comment that I wanted to piggyback off of very quickly, talking about it doesn't really matter kind of what happens with the wide receivers. And I believe that is true. And a lot of it's because people already have their minds made up, especially at the wide receiver position with all of the analytics and all of the information that's out there. You look at Matthew Golden, especially his peripheral metrics, they're not great. Then you have the film folks that kind of whistle a different tune. Luther Burden, so much of his production was coming from behind the line of scrimmage. Emeka Egbuka, he's a slot receiver. Tet McMillan, he doesn't love the game of football. His separation, not on par with what you might be looking for. So I think even if Tet gets middle of the first draft capital, people have their mind made up on him. Even if Luther Burden goes 30, 31, 32. People have their mind made up on him. So I think that's a great point that Mitch made. But like you said, Shane, if you built your team, not just correctly, but if you look into the strengths of previous classes and you start to maneuver your roster and you start to make moves based on what you're seeing, you should be positioned somewhat well. Like there aren't a ton of teams where I'm sitting there with a pick in the first thinking, oh my God, I hope this wide receiver slips to me because I got to get this wide receiver, especially with how easy a lot of these guys are to go out and acquire for pretty solid production. It's just not something I'm looking to do.
Just and Josh is in the chat, and this make me think of it. But also, if you don't like this class, yeah, you can definitely use these picks to go buy some established players, right? Like we've talked about this way back when in the Discord on the way to work. Oh, you can't anymore? You can't buy Devontae Adams for a 110?
I'm going to let you make your point.
No, you can't buy Devontae Adams for a 110 anymore?
Think about what you just said, but continue. Then I'll end it. We have one more thing I want to go through with everybody.
I can't do both, so you go.
No, I was just going to say that
continue.
Shane, without trying to make my point, just made my point. What makes a rookie class valuable is not the players. It's not the type of class. It's what do other people think of the picks that I have. Sure, I have a lot of teams that prepared to just rip running backs as many times as I can. And I've already admitted that I'm just going to be giving away a lot of those picks for a bunch of, hopefully they stick on a depth chart and they give me some games over the next couple of years. That's the bulk of why I value this class. Outside of that, though, like this class just does not have the steam for me to go 106. I can go throw that in a deal that other people want. And this maybe is just me in some of my leagues. People don't want the picks. The people that value the picks like I do for the purpose of just ripping as many running backs as they can value the picks to the degree of they'll take them. But what they're not doing is disrupting their roster build to trade for my picks. Like you may be able to move your 106 or in Shane's case, the 110 for Devontae Adams, right? But you can't go to this class and go, man, I'd really love to get my hands on a top 10 quarterback, a top 12 receiver, and get them at the typical rate that you think you should with the picks that you have. Because you see the 104 and you go, dude, 104 is a great pick. And then you go, but I think most people kind of pigeonhole that as that might be a running back. Maybe it's a quarterback. Maybe it's a tight end in a class where tight ends don't really matter because it's 1.5. But all you want is a top 12 receiver or a better quarterback. And it just doesn't have the trade steam that it typically does, even at the high part of the draft. I mean, I wanted to finish with this exercise, unless you guys had any final points on this. This question right here. What is that line? And I know it differs. I know we're in a bunch of 2 PPR for tight ends where you can flex tight ends. So that kind of kicks the picks back a little bit more in value, right? Like even if there's a third tight end, like a Mason Taylor that goes in a good spot, they would move up into the first in like a 2 PPR league. But where is this line? Because I think 111 through 202 is pretty much every draft class I'm trading out of those picks for future firsts. But I feel like it's higher this year. If you truly want to make this move tonight, especially if you want to get to a kind of volatile first of a team that's not a great contending team, they're in the middle, you know what I mean? Those are the types of trades you want to make. You don't want to trade for the guy that's won 2 straight championships. You want to trade for the team that is kind of in the middle, hasn't picked a direction. You want to try to get their future first, either in 26 or 27. What's the line? Let's just assume 1.75, start 11. What is the line that tonight, Mitch, you would go blindly send the pick for a frisky team on Dynasty Daddy? Shout out to Jeremy. It's not rebuilding. It's not contender. It's frisky.
We're talking about 26 picks?
26 or 27. You can decipher between
27 changes things. 27, I'm going to say the 110.
Then say it
because the
that'll be the exercise we close it out with. Say it for 26 and 27. Where is your line right now?
26, I'm the 201. 27, I'm the 110.
JB? Is Mitch getting any future firsts for that 201?
Nope.
Nope.
And I'm okay with it.
But to play devil's advocate, Right now, he's not. But
Right.
if
True.
he is betting on the class and he's expecting, hey, this first round, we're going to get what we need. We're going to get what we need in day 2. Well, then you are going to see from time to time people looking to get up there, even if it's the 201, because then, like I said about variance, somebody's 109, 110 may keep slipping and they're still looking to acquire. They don't care if it's the 201. For me, I am at 109 to 112 tier. A little bit of a cop out giving the tier. And of course, because the 27 first, there's more time for things to go wrong for that team. So a wider range of outcomes. And we know the high end talent there, but you have to wait an extra year. But we all know obviously the discrepancy with the perception right now. I'm going to say 109. If you're giving me a frisky first, I think it helps you minimize risk of the outcome of this weekend.
So you're at 109 through 112. Mitch was at 110 for the 27s and 201 for the 26s. Mitch is going to be making all of those late firsts. Shane, you're usually more aggressive on this, which is funny because you were just the one talking about liking this class a little more. But where are you at on this? What's the line?
So I apparently don't like this class as much as those two. I'm just while
You're
they're
trading all your first to Mitch.
so while they're talking, right? I'm just like, let me just go check DLF's ADP because it always feels like in my mind it's 108. It's always 108. It's actually 107 is where you should probably be comfortable moving any first for a future first every year. There's outliers, obviously. Last year, that was just a crazy bonanza. But going through it, I went back to like 2020. Every year, you should be trading the 107 or later for a future first every year and just re-rolling and hoping that you get the 106 or better, just based off the history of the picks, just looking at them, just eyeballing it off the last 5 years. It's very, very not good. There's Zach Wilson's in there. There's Kenny Pickett's in there. There's all types of refuse and refugees in there that you don't want on your roster if you can avoid it. So apparently I'll hold to 106 and then 107. You give me a future first and we can deal. But I'm also very, me, I'm like, well, I shouldn't have to do that. So you're going to have to give me something else too. I'm not doing it straight up.
So I posted this in the Heisman chat. Josh just reminded me in the chat. And I said 12-team Superflex, start 10, 1.75 PPR for tight end. Which rookie pick would you move straight up for a 26 first? No additional context. Let's call it random. There was 1 vote for 105, 1 vote for 107, 3 votes for 108, and then a majority of them came in at the 110.
Yeah, I'm closer to Shane than you guys, to be honest. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to make any picks from 107, 108, 109. But I think what gets lost and doesn't get translated in the trade calculator is, and JB, you kind of nailed it with the time. Time even works in your favor, at least the way people play Dynasty now. Time works in your favor, even if you get a 26 first, because you can suspend having to convert that pick into a player. So you really have to look at your roster and say, okay, even if I have the 107, and that might be a pick or two ahead of where I really want to get a future first, can I give the 107 and get back a 308 and a future first and just give me a stab later on in the draft? But the real benefit is I'm working with a start 9, a start 10, even a start 11. That 109, 110, 111, that's not making or breaking my roster. It might be BPA. I don't even know what position it's going to be. But if you're just adding it to collect on your bench, and really, even if you think it's your last starter or two, one of the things that I think we miss out most when we make moves like that is that player. Let's say it's Luther Burden. He's wide receiver 3 based on where he lands, right? Even if he just ends up being Josh Downs, maybe in a little better of a situation. Ultimately, that normally blocks you from being able to throw in somebody just as volatile, but way cheaper into your starting lineup. Last year, I learned this a lot with some of these receivers that popped up because we have that Trinity tool, ddfantasyfootball.com. That blocks you from going, man, I really need to throw somebody in my flex. Let me go trade a late second for Darnell Mooney. You know what I mean? You don't see the need to do that. So it actually keeps you from being a little more aggressive to go after the cheap points that we know comes available. It blocks you. It makes your mind go, oh, I have that spot. That's filled with Luther Burden now. And I blew the 107 when I could have got back a future third and a future first and gone and replace essentially that production in my lineup way cheaper when the market opens up. So I think people need to be a little more cognizant of their team build when they do this. But I think the value lies in having to suspend that decision until later and have that first in my back pocket. And then I can go out and buy what I want. Maybe there's an opportunity that doesn't come now, but comes in August where a real high asset is available. And I can throw 2 firsts at it. And all of a sudden, I've made my team that much better. And it's because I reduced the temptation to click draft during the high moment of that rookie time. Boys, that's it. We'll be able to talk the rest of the night on Ray Garvin NFL. And then following that, after the draft, back here on DDFFB for the round 1 reactions and post show. Check out everything on the schedule as you see on the screen. Pretty much live content wall to wall today, tomorrow, Saturday, and then even into Sunday and Monday morning. Subscribe if you haven't already. Trying to get to 5,000 during tonight. So if you haven't already liked and subscribed onto this channel, please do so. And tune over for our live draft stream coverage, which will be starting here in less than 30 minutes over on Ray Garvin NFL. So with that, Mitch, JB, Shane, and myself, we'll see everybody back here around midnight when round 1 ends. Be chill.